This 12-year-old big and strong crocodile suddenly jumped up from below, and the young man quickly dodged to the side, causing him to have to eat a stomach full of northwest wind, but he still didn't give up and turned around to grab the boat. The piece caused this friend to into the river. Seeing that he was about to become his lunch, the man immediately risked his life, rowing the boat and pulling his friend aboard. The hungry crocodile grabbed him again, but very quickly he parted the water. Attacking again, the young man told his friend to hold on tight because they might win. After saying that, he immediately hugged the trident and hid on the boat, waiting for the crocodile to swoop in again. He quickly stabbed him straight in the neck. Unfortunately, the crocodile was so strong that it dragged him straight into the river. His friend thought he was dead, but when he buried his head in the water, he saw that he was still fiercely fighting the crocodile inside. England firmly held the trident and used force to press it straight into his body, causing him so much pain that he no longer had the strength to cry and call for his mother. In the end, the young man made it safely to shore and the crocodile lay motionless on the shore, so I immediately pulled him back and tonight my tribe had a full meal again. This young man is Simon. This is the year 1600 BC, and the ancient Indian civilization has been in love with its Simon childhoods. He lost both his mother and father, so he had lived with his aunt and uncle, who often dreamed of a unicorn, and had his younger self running around in the bustling city of Daro. Daro city is very big, so he wanted to go to see it, but my uncle always said that the people in the city were extremely greedy people. They always made the poor farmers go away but never return. But why did I still insist on wanting the last enemy? One day he called. My sworn brother came and planned to sneak into the city with a group of merchants. His uncle knew about it, but there was no way to stop him, so he could only agree to let him go first. So he gave it to him, a very sophisticated card. This is an object that can protect you in times of danger. The merchant group traveled a long way and finally reached the city of Daro. Seeing a huge and luxurious citadel felt great. This is a huge city built on the riverside. It's hard to imagine that in 1600 BC, how could humans create such a majestic structure that Simon had to give them 2 bags. New dyes can enter the city, trade, because the king of this city built a dam here, so he changed the flow of the river, causing people downstream to lose their crops. Life is extremely miserable, therefore, they had to ask for help from Crown Prince Daro, but the Crown Prince was too much and asked them to give him beautiful women. Hearing this shameless request, I couldn't help but go up and argue with him. Good luck to you. The castle warden appeared promptly and told everyone to disperse and go home, otherwise, I'm sure you'll be gone forever. Why do I suddenly feel like this city is not as interesting as going back to its hometown to eat meat and fish? Even worse. And at this moment a beautiful and elegant girl suddenly appeared. This was Charlie, the daughter of the great priest Simon. Looking from top to bottom, she felt extremely satisfied, so she decided not to. Anyway, that really cool, man. Why should Simon take out the card my uncle gave me? Thanks to this thing, you can go to the place where high-class people live a little close to see the lover of your dreams. Chani Trianai, like a fairy, is extremely beautiful, and Simon is so normal that he can't say anything, and so he planned to let the buffaloes and horse in the distance help him with the horse. Suddenly, he broke the rope and rushed straight towards his father. At the same time, Bach Simon his 3 legs and 4 river ports towards her. Then he suddenly shouted loudly, "Whose horse is this?" The horses were so scared that they peed their pants and stopped. He walked over to him, throwing his scarf to cover their eyes and successfully taming them. He immediately felt happy and was finally conquered by Simon. This was the beginning of the 2 love story. The star who settled in the city both did business and dated a girl named Chani, and they promised to get married. Finally, that day, he boldly confessed his love to his father and her. Besides him, she didn't want to marry anyone else, so she took the initiative to steal the guy's first kiss from far away again. But then she told Simon that they couldn't be together, so she walked in rights when father left. In her life, she was promised that she would marry the crown prince. This was her father's fate. On the day she and the crown prince held their wedding, man quietly dug a dog hole to get into the backstage. If Charlie didn't like the crown prince, then she should have. To refuse this marriage, only the person who is compatible with me can become the other half of her life. Finally, the prince could not bear it anymore. He went to the backstage and fought with Sam. If continue to fight like this, the crown prince will soon have to fall. The king originally intended to execute him immediately, but in order to bribe people's hearts, he decided to give Simon as long as he could pass the test. If this person is dead, you can take him out. That night, Chani father Dai Te finally told Simon the truth, and it turned out that the king was an extremely cruel and vindictive person. The tribe chief trading officer was kicked out of the tribe because of importing smuggled goods, and so he was determined to take revenge. Then he went to Daro Citadel to be the trading master he discovered in the lower region. The stream of the Shinhu River had a large amount of gold to scoop up wealth. Made a proposal to build a large dam to stop the flow of water and collect gold in the downstream area. That year, Simon's father was the king, king of Daro Castle. He thought that adjusting the flow of the river would cause people fields to fail, but when it was time to raise his hand to vote, the great priest was only afraid, so he voted one last vote for the great minister, epidemic, and so the dam to stop this flow of money began to be built to suppress those who opposed this. The trading god recruited the cannibals to help him deal with it. Then he plotted to harm the country. The king was charged with possessing gold and inciting the people to fight against the king during the Congress. The high priest, because he wanted to protect himself, did not appear to help the king and other minister and close friends because he was also threatened, so he didn't dare to stand up and speak for the king. In the end, the king was sentenced to death by a group of farmers who didn't know the truth. Simon's mother was so angry that she made a blanket on the spot, and the trading minister remained like that. But he became the king because the river flow changed, so the farmers in the downstream area could not continue to live, so they all flocked to the Daro city, and the city was on the brink of collapse until now. Because Dai too realized his mistake, he wanted to overthrow the king and marry Chani. Come on, brother, if you want to marry Dai Te daughter from Chani, you have to accept an extremely scary test. 2 ferocious men from the cannibal clan were released, holding a huge sword up to 40 meters long in their hands and also a giant wooden pestle. The Simon was also extremely calm, preparing of battle. He held a nail. BA danced around 666 times, but unfortunately in front of this carnivorous tribe, his strength was just like a mosquito biting a stainless steel carnivore. As soon as the carnivore tribe sent out a sound, the Simon limbs softened and he was lifted up, after being thrown then kicked. Then beaten, he intended to directly strangle him to death, but could not succeed. Why did he quickly climb up to the high platform, then jump from the top and sit straight on top of him? Then he climbed on top again, then punched the other guy in the face once, then used a wooden pestle to unconscious in a faraway place. At this point, I regained my advantage, picked up the trident and started to attack, but the cannibal, after having the weapon, the new one was even stronger. And Smant trident was soon broken and his whole body was gently lifted up, but he quickly escaped and used a piece of wood to stab a cannibal. Then he kicked the other guy away, but very quickly he was overpowered by his opponent until Simon climbed on top of the opponent's head and then punched him like a punching bag, cutting and punching until the opponent's limbs became weak. Then he held it. The trident lay on the group and let him eat the bitter fruit. Simon, relying only his own strength, defeated the carnivorous people and became a great hero. The king could only fulfill his promise to agree to marry him, Charlie for samurai, but the crown prince was not convinced because his father was his fiancé, so he put on a black robe and suddenly attacked and took care of his father. Simon went to him and punched him. I beat him so hard that he couldn't cry out. Then gave him a knife to cover the spot and then climbed up the dam blocking the river, saw how huge it was if a storm attacked it and broke it. This dam will bring great disaster to the whole city. So why should I bring a team to rob all the gold from the king merchants? Simon told everyone that the king built this dam to mine gold, not for it. People have a comfortable life, but to buy and import weapons and to average themselves. This requires raising taxes to a higher level, not giving us a way to live, and so the people are angry and blame us. Rushed to King Simon main hall and punched him. He fell to the ground and tied this brutal king up in the square to show the people that at his time it was pouring heavily and the river water had overflowed the dike and dam blocking the river, it about to collapse. So why should I tell the young men to hurry up, pack their luggage and run to the high mountain on the opposite side? Unfortunately, their path has been broken by the river, so they don't panic but make sure to go there. The strong young man returned to collect the ropes of the cowboat and the tattooed horse cart. He led the group of young men rowing the boat to the other shore and tied the rope to the old tree on the shore. In the moment of danger, they were racing against death. Simon tightened his grip on the rope and returned to the other side. They needed to tie all the boats together and push them down the river. Each water buffalo could be pulled away. They needed to build a safe road, connecting this bank with the other bank on the river under the effort of everyone. Their path was finally successful. Then the ladder was raised again and the people began to retreat to the high mountain on the bank. The other side is truly a miracle. This is the first great victory of humans against nature. At this time, the dam has begun to collapse and the people have all safely withdrawn from there. But among them is a giant. The god was determined not to leave. He wanted to see with his own eyes that cruel king drowned. Thousands of big waves were coming far away. Simon had to leave immediately. The floodwaters kept washing away the boats away from him. He could only choose to jump into the river, but he did not die here. He held on tightly to the rope and safely swam to the bottom. Seeing this scene, he felt reassured. The dam blocking the river collapsed again. Huge waves poured down from the sky, immediately engulfing the entire forest, rushing straight in and destroying the entire city. And so the civilization of thousands of years was immediately Submerged in the river, the cruel king also had to die in that water. His great-grandfather, who hated him to the core, had also seen this scene with his own eyes. All the gardens and houses were submerged in the sea of water. An entire ancient civilization was sleeping deep at the bottom of the sea, and everyone brought them to the bottom of the sea. Looking far away, there was only a vast sea of water left, leading people to start a new journey, and the broken dam had formed a huge, bright river. Simon at the Ganges River is the origin of the Ganges River in India. This movie is called Mohenjo Daro, and is based on real archaeological documents. The bathroom cards and ritual texts in the movie have all been discovered by archaeology. This is an epic blockbuster movie. If you love Indian movie, don't miss it. If you me, please follow me. See you next video. Bye bye.